What makes it interesting to me is that it's unlocking this entire new area,
Mm-hmm.
a new niche, a new discipline of pen testing or offense security, because we're going to need people who specialize in finding those security loopholes in AI and large language models. And those exploits are, in my opinion, are pretty different than like a web app or a network
Mm-hmm.
test. And it's a whole nother discipline that we have barely got our feet wet in as a community. Hi, I'm Kyser Clark, and welcome to The Hacker's Cache, the show that decrypts the secrets of offensive security one bite at a time. Every week, I invite you into the world of ethical hacking by interviewing leading offensive security practitioners. If you are a penetration tester, bug bounty hunter, red teamer, or blue teamer who wants to better understand the modern hacker mindset, whether you are new or experienced, this show is for you. Thank you so much for tuning in. Today I have Zach Winchester, who has over a decade of hands-on experience. He began his career as a network operations specialist and spent several years as both a cybersecurity analyst and cybersecurity engineer, and now works full-time in offensive security as a penetration tester. For education, he doesn't have a degree. For certifications, he has the OSCP. So, Zach, thank you so much for stopping in and doing this recording with me. Thank you so much for your time. Go ahead and introduce yourself, unpack some of your experience to the audience.
My name's Zach Winchester. I uh, kind of got my foot in the door as in a network or cybersecurity operations uh, center, doing particularly firewall configurations. From there, transitioned into network engineering, and that's when I ended up getting the OSCP, and I made the switch from engineering into penetration testing. And it's treated me well ever since.
So, what made you want to go from engineer to pen testing?
To be honest, I always thought it was just really cool. Thought it was pretty neat. I always kind of wondered. I mean, there's people out there that they can do things and then get away with it, and somehow the bad guys get away with it. How do they do it? And that's just always been a question that I've wondered. So I then found out that there's a career doing that. So I'm like, okay, well, I'm going to try that out.
So, you were interested in like the cyber crime aspect, like you like the cyber warfare,
Right.
like dirty darknet stuff. That you're into that kind of stuff.
Yeah, like that's kind of how it all got started. At least that's what piqued my curiosity into it, or piqued my interest. And then, as I got further into it, I kind of noticed that there's even more aspects of it to learn about.
Yeah, I chuckle because it's never ending. Like the more you learn, like you learn a new topic, then like three other topics that you didn't know existed now exist. It's
Hmm.
like the Hydra. You cut one dragon head off, and three more sprout, and
Precisely.
that's how cybersecurity is, and that's how ethical hacking and pen testing and offense security is as well.
Hmm.
Because it's never ending. Like you think you start knowing stuff and you're like, oh wow, there's actually way more that I don't know,
Hmm.
and that's like a never-ending battle. So you have to be very comfortable if you want to make a career out of it.
Hmm. Yeah.
Always having just not knowing everything about everything. So I specifically mentioned that you didn't have a degree, and
Hmm.
the reason why I brought that up is because a lot of people, no, they wondered, hey, can you break in the field without a degree? And a lot of my guests up to this point, like almost always have a degree. It's very popular to have a degree, and it seems like, oh yeah, if you see like a lot of people who have a degree are in the field, you're like, oh, well, then I need one. But in your case, you don't have one,
Hmm.
and I want to bring that up because I want to ask, like, how did you break in the field without a degree, and do you think a degree, like not having a degree, like held you back at all? Did it hurt you in any way?
So I won't say that it necessarily held me back or hurt me, um, because it's still been very like it's still been a rather successful journey for me. It's I will say that for each person, if somebody has a degree, then they can leverage that. But if they don't have a degree, so like in my case, I kind of fell back on like my upbringing and constantly being surrounded by computers and working on things as a child with with my uncle, and just as that kind of unraveled later in life, it was almost just second nature, more of a lifestyle, I suppose. So I will say that people that do have degrees, that's good. That's great. There's avenues that they can take and leverage those. But people that don't, if they have the prior experience, then they can lean on that.
Yeah, I always tell people experience is king when it comes to breaking the field and growing and leveling up in your career.
Mm-hmm.
And you don't need a degree. I mean, it can help, but it's definitely not essential.
Right.
And I was this week actually. I was doing my weekly one-on-one with my manager, and he didn't even know that I was going for my master's degree because it's not something I just like tell everybody because I'm working full time and I'm a full time college student at the same time. And he's like, "Oh my gosh, I didn't even know that." And I was like, "Yeah," I was like, "I'm about to graduate my master's degree, and here in a few weeks I'll have the degree." And we started talking about degrees, and he had one as well, and I was like, "Man, honestly, like my degree, I think the biggest benefit that I got out of my degree was learning how to write." I think it's like the big skill I got out of it. But big caveat here, like my degree is in cybersecurity management policy, so it's not technical at all. I purposely put myself in a non-technical degree because I knew I wanted to get some technical certifications, and I was going to do hack the box track. I was
Mm-hmm.
going to do all this hands-on activities, and I didn't want my degree. I wanted it to complement. I didn't want it to be the same thing.
Right.
So, um, that's why mine wasn't hands-on. But I guess there are probably some colleges that are hands-on, but for me, it was just learning how to write and just speak the lingo.
Yeah. Which is very important as well, because there's a lot of lingo to learn.
Yeah, 100%, man. I'm excited to announce that memberships are now live for my YouTube channel. And if you decide to become a member, you'll get early access to videos, access to member-only polls, loyalty badges for the YouTube channel chat, and priority reply to the YouTube comments. Of course, if you can't or don't want to become a member, that is totally fine. I will always release the same free content you come to expect, and your support just by watching is more than enough to keep the channel going. But for those who do join, your contribution helps invest into new tools, technologies, and people to help the channel go further. The goal is to create even more content and raise the quality of every video for everyone. Thank you for considering memberships, and as always, thank you so much for your support.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so let's go ahead and dive into our rapid fire questions here. Are you ready for the rapid fire round, Zach?
I hope so. Yes.
So no pressure here. This just a fun little game show here. For those who don't know, Zach will have 30 seconds to answer 5 questions. If he answers all 5 questions in 30 seconds, he will get a bonus 6 question unrelated to cybersecurity. Zach's time will start as soon as I finish asking the first question. Here we go. Zach, in your opinion, what is the most annoying cybersecurity myth?
Report writing's all bad.
Best way to keep up with cybersecurity trends?
Reddit, Twitter, or X. Sorry.
Best advice for aspiring hackers?
Just keep learning. Just keep trying.
Most overrated cybersecurity certification?
CEH.
Favorite hacking gadget?
Flipper Zero.
Nice. Perfect. 27 seconds. Congratulations. You have earned the right to answer this amazing bonus question that I'm super excited for. So let's go ahead and dive into it. And this one right here, you can explain as much as low as you want to. You can dive into it a lot, a little bit, whatever you want to do. So here it is. If you could replace one body part with a cybernetic upgrade, what would it be?
That one's tough. Having an active radar would be pretty nice. just being able to tell who's around me, especially for like physical engagements. It'd be kind of nice to know if somebody's coming around the corner or not. I don't know. That's a good one.
I mean, radar is pretty cool. I mean, I never even thought of that. Like having a radar module installed on you, and you just knew like where everyone
Just like a
that you're
HUD,
surrounded
like a
all the
heads
time.
up display of all the little red dots are who you don't want to get caught by.
Yeah. So for me, this one's a hard question for me because I knew the question going in, so I thought about this, and I still don't really have a good answer. Like I was thinking like, oh, maybe if I could just like put like a CPU, like a computer chip in my brain just to process information faster.
Hmm.
But then I was like, well, if I do that, like would I lose like my human creativity? Would I lose my human emotions? You know what I mean?
Mm.
And sometimes I wish I had less emotions, so because like they kind of get in the way of things.
Hmm.
But I was like, but that kind of makes like emotions make the human experience what it is, you know?
Yep.
So I don't really know. I mean, I always think about like, yeah, just put some kind of like processor in my brain so I can just think faster, you know.
Right.
But at the same time, I was like, well, is it gonna make me like, lose my human emotions and lose my human skills, you know?
Yeah, and I've noticed as well, especially whenever it comes to like physical engagements or social engineering, you kind of have to like flip the switch in your mind, as in you're not being mean to that person. It's it's helping the company out, but you still have to flip that switch. Just don't forget to flip it back whenever you're done.
That's good you bring that up. This came up in an episode with Tyler Ramsey. Actually, we were talking about social engineering, and one of the things that I've done in-person social engineering engagement before, and I didn't succeed. Mostly because they had a really good policy, right? No one in my company was able to break into there because they just have a really good like, yeah, don't let people in this building like at all. Like they're really good. But me doing it, uh, like coming up with a lie and lying to someone's face, it was weird for me because it's not something I normally do. When you're when you're an honest person, it's like it was really outside my comfort zone. You know what I mean?
Mm.
If you can, I can talk to people all day, but then when you tell me to lie, I'm like, oh, all right, well, that's a little different here. And I know it's for a good cause, but it's like, I don't know, it just like went against the grain of like who I am. So
Yeah.
how do you flip that switch? And what advice could you give to someone like me who is an honest person
Mm-hmm.
who wants to, be that guy who can provide value to a client or a company, but um, doesn't necessarily know how to flip that switch for social engineering mode?
It is. It's it's a very uncomfortable feeling at first, I suppose. But once you remind yourself that this is for the greater good, like this is truly to figure out where the shortcomings and like where the weak points really are. It's not so much just telling yourself that over and over. It's really understanding and feeling that this is a good thing, and all that comes to light at the end of the assessment. So,
Yeah, and so how many do you do social engineering a lot, or is it just occasional? Or
I've done lots of phishing campaigns, lots of those. As for in person, like physical pen testing, only a handful of times, and I'm kind of is in the same boat, not very successful. I don't know if there was, chatter amongst the organization and they kind of knew beforehand, or if their security like really was pretty good. I'm gonna probably vote the second one, but
yeah, well, that's a good point you mentioned too, because my first and only in-person social engineering event, physical social engineering assessment was like it was at the same time every year. So it was like the
mm,
fourth engagement they had 4 times in a row. And literally, I looked at the last year's report. It happened on the same exact day,
mm,
just on the next year. So they just already knew that was coming. You know what I
I
mean?
see.
So that's a factor because like they kind of understand like when their next engagement is going to be, especially if it's a routine client, you know. So that's a good point you mentioned that. So it kind of makes it hard. So you can't. So for anybody that's listening, like gets into social engineering, like don't beat yourself up too much if you don't succeed,
Right.
because I definitely didn't feel good when they didn't let me in the building. I'm like, man, I worked. I had to come with this pretext, and I had to like get all these nerves out and everything,
Hmm.
and I tried, and I'm like, oh man, came short, you know. So don't beat yourself up too bad over it,
Right.
and it's easier said than done. But yeah.
Hmm. Yeah, I mean, like the goal is technically to get caught. It's just what all do you have to do to get caught?
What a great way of looking at it. I like that. So, moving on,
Hmm.
another topic that you are passionate about is AI and LLM security
Hmm.
loopholes. So, is that something that you're actively studying? Yeah, like, tell me about like how what makes
It's
you intrigued about AI and LLM security loopholes?
it's definitely. I wouldn't say it's something I'm so much studying, but it's definitely something that I'm dabbling in. Like whenever ChatGPT came out, it kind of took the world by storm, especially when it really blew up. Um, but people really didn't know that there could be security implications on it. I mean, and this kind of goes hand in hand with social engineering. If this thing responds like a human, then what else is it susceptible to that could be, I don't know, human avenues of attack? Like, you can gaslight an AI really hard, and more times than not, it'll kind of deteriorate slightly, anyways. You might notice a few things here and there. Some of them are really good, though. Some of them are really good in maintaining their composure. But and there's just different ways to kind of get around like their security mechanisms, like censorship. You know, nobody wants to go pay for a service and talk to an AI, and then all of a sudden it just starts, I don't know, shouting obscenities. But uh, there was a recent jailbreak method that I can't remember who wrote the white paper, but it was essentially just using leet speak in different ways over and over again, and it would eventually do what it was told. I mean, another one was using ASCII art to spell out certain things, and the LLM would pick up on that and actually do what it was instructed through the ASCII art. I thought that was really neat. Um, Aside from tinkering with like the security mechanisms that LLMs have built in, whether that be baked into the LLM or some something in between the user interface and the LLM itself, um, everything else has just been me. I don't know. Not developing, but trying to develop something, I guess. I just don't know what it's turning into yet.
Yeah, and so when it comes to like AI and LLM security, one of the things that I like to think about is like how, like you said, it took the world by storm, ChatGPT when it came out, and everyone's throwing an AI chatbot on every website now.
Mm-hmm.
They're basically replacing customer support with AI, and you're in a certain. And I mean, the conversations of people's jobs getting replaced by AI is already happening, and at this point, it's inevitable. And we're going to go out in public, and we're going to start seeing positions that used to be filled by a human now being ran by an AI.
Mm-hmm.
And those security loopholes, you know, they could exist in out in the wild. Like for example, like if you go to the restaurant and you got like an AI taking your order or whatever, like there's potential security loopholes that you can exploit there. And what makes it interesting to me is that it's unlocking this entire new area,
Mm-hmm.
a new niche, a new discipline of pen testing or offensive security, because we're going to need people who specialize in finding those security loopholes in AI and large language models. And those exploits are, in my opinion, are pretty different than like a web app or a network
Mm-hmm.
test. and it's a whole nother discipline that we have barely got our feet wet in as a community. I mean, I haven't touched it at all, really, but even the people who are spending a lot of time on AI and there's still so much to learn. And I would imagine that you're going to start seeing some more specific training, specifically focusing on AI and LLM
Mm-hmm.
exploitation. And the training that I've seen so far has been pretty basic, and I know there's going to be some more advanced stuff coming out. And if you're a training company listening, I think it's like there's really like I'm a huge fan of certifications, as you can tell from the wall of search behind me. I would be interested in like a certification for that. Like, oh yeah,
Mm-hmm.
the you know AI pentester cert, whatever, for whoever vendor does it. If you're a training company, I think you should that should
Hmm.
be where some of these training companies should be going, because I think it's important, because like I said, we're going to running into literal robots and literal machines that are running on AI
Mm-hmm.
in the wild. Like we already see it, like
Yeah.
there's delivery drones,
Mm-hmm.
and I even saw like a this like police bot thing. Like
Hmm.
I think it was in China. Like they were using this bot that was like a police bot. Like, dude, everything, the world, it's like it's literal cyberpunk going to be in the future. It's coming.
Oh yeah.
Like 2027, like Cyberpunk 2027, like that's gonna be a reality, dude.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I like where you're going with that though, with like needing more people that are knowledged in essentially how to test whether or not AI or like machine learning models, LLMs, everything, all the above are secure or not, and the fact that AI are helping, well, somewhat taking people's jobs. The security tester's position, and some people may disagree with this. They think that even that position may be in danger, but personally, I think it's the opposite way. Like that just gives us more stuff to test.
Yeah, and I mean I can see some of like the easier offense security tasks, like the mundane stuff that we have to do, getting
Right.
automated. But those
The outside the box
chaining
critical
the
thinking
exploits
stuff.
together and the manual exploits that we have to
Mm-hmm.
do to like actually uncover these vulnerabilities. Like I don't know,
Mm-hmm.
for anybody that's ever watched any of my Twitch streams, like I use ChatGPT during my Twitch streams when I'm doing a hack to box machine, because I go in this black box, which means I don't have any knowledge of the machine
Mm-hmm.
ahead of time. I'm just going in raw, just figuring it out as I go. And I get stuck a lot, because that's what hacking
Yeah.
there's no way you're not going to get stuck, like, in my opinion. Like if you
Right.
no one can hack into something like that.
Right.
I
I
mean,
mean, like
sometimes you
more than
can,
half of
but
it's being stuck.
yeah, it's you're going to be stuck, way, yeah, like you said, more than half the time. So anyways, what I was trying to say was ChatGPT, I'll use it as like a way to assist me. I'm like, hey, this is what I found in
Mm-hmm.
this box, and I'm trying to get to this user. What are some things you can suggest to help me progress in the CTF? And it'll give me the answer, because it understands I'm doing a CTF. It's not malicious or anything. It used to not give you the answer at all,
Right.
which is really frustrating. But now it at least gives you something.
Mm-hmm.
But even then, like everything it suggests doesn't work, and like it's completely off from the actual solution. And it's like it's almost like I can't even use it to help me
Right.
out. Like very rarely can I use it to help me like progress
Mm-hmm.
on a hack the box machine, for example. So
But it is nice to be
I
able to
don't
like
think,
bounce ideas off of. I'm not gonna say
yeah,
somebody, but something that seems like somebody. It's just nice to be able to like converse with it. Just because, I mean, shoot, it might even say something that will give you an idea of something you didn't think of prior. It's like brainstorming through conversation with a robot.
yeah, yeah, and like I said, I just feel like we're so far away from being fully automation
Mm-hmm.
on penetration tests. Like I am not worried about
Me either.
losing my job at all as a pen tester, and by the time it gets to the point to where it might even start to, like I'll probably be retired by then. So
Right.
if you're in the field now, I honestly wouldn't worry. Or even if you're about to get in the field, I also wouldn't worry either.
No.
It's because we're so far away from that, in my opinion. But I could be wrong, because AI is it can kind of grow at a rate that we don't even comprehend
It's
yet. But
true. We'll see where the future takes us there.
yeah, it's exciting to talk about though.
Mm-hmm.
So moving on to the next topic here, you are also interested in hardware hacking. So what kind of hardware hacking are you doing, and what can you say about hardware hacking, or in comparison to like a web app pen tester or a network pen tester?
So, my hardware hacking experience has been it's been different. Um, Way before I got into cybersecurity, I was very young. I think I was like 18 or 19. I was working in this plant manufacturing circuit boards, and they had these machines where you put this circuit board in it, and it would. There were like these little fingers that would reach down. It was called an ICT machine, and I think that is in circuit testing. And like these little fingers would go down, and it would just touch these little points on the board. And after seeing what it was doing, it was actually going in and verifying that like all of the um, it was essentially verifying that the board itself was manufactured properly. But what I didn't know is that commands can be issued to the board dependent upon, if it's designed to be able to accept commands through these points. These are called JTAG points, Joint Test Action Group, I think they're called. It's just a standard, essentially, it's a serial connection just by having a connection made to different points on a board. And then I was like, wait a minute, well, I've seen a bunch of circuit boards that have these little points on them. Can this be applied to other stuff? And it turns out, yeah, a lot. Most of them you can. And there's even, I forget the name of the site. I've got some little USB sticks that you can solder wires to then solder onto a board's JTAG points in order to gain a serial connection to whatever the underlying device itself is. I thought that was really cool. As for other experience in doing so, I worked on an enormous 3D printer a long time ago, where the serial port on the board within the printer. This thing was like the size of my fridge, but the serial port was no longer functioning. So I was actually able to go in and find the JTAG points that correlated to the serial pins and kind of bypassed it in order to. I can't even remember precisely what it was for, but I got the job done. That was pretty neat. Um, Other than that, I mean, hardware hacking, it can be really fun. Um, Burn up a lot of voltmeters in the process.
So, uh, so when you're doing your hardware hacking, have you done it like on the job, like paid to do hardware hacking, or has this been all recreational in your free time as like a hobby, or a little bit of both?
A little bit of both. It is a little bit of both. It's been a while since I've done it for a like cybersecurity role per se, just because I feel like most companies that manufacture a product that they need tested, they're going to outsource that, or their R&D team is going to probably do some kind of internal testing. Um, but I would like to. I think it would be very fun to. Um, I don't know. I guess it all just really depends on what the client would. Hmm. It's really all dependent upon the circumstances.
Yeah, and I'm so speaking of hardware hacking. So I've recently got into hardware hacking.
Hmm.
I don't have a lot of experience in it, but my company or one of our clients needed some hardware hacking done, some IoT testing done, and our entire team, no one had IoT testing experience, so they asked for volunteers to learn, and I raised my hand and like, hey, I will volunteer for this. So I'm going through some hardware hacking training. I'm doing the TCM Security Practical IoT Pen Test Associate. That's the PIPA
Hmm.
certification. So I'm doing that training now. Hopefully I can get that certification soon. But if not, at the very least, I've completed the training and at least took the exam. But yeah, stay tuned for that. And I also read through the practical IoT testing or practical IoT hacking book from No Circ Press,
Hmm.
and I read that book. So I'm learning how to do some of this hardware hacking stuff, and I've already done like some of the physical stuff. Like I've did my first solder not too long ago. I can't believe it took me this long to get to do my first solder,
Very
and
good.
then using a multimeter and all this stuff, and learning about not network, electrical engineering.
Hmm.
So it's definitely been different, and it's been kind of piqued my curiosity, and it's been fun because like it's completely different
Hmm.
from my experience and in my opinion than like traditional pen
Oh, for
testing.
sure. Very much
So
so. There's just a few other things that might go wrong. I mean, if something smells like it's burning, it is. And like wall outlets hurt, things like that.
yes, yeah, that's a good point. When you do pen testing on a network or you pen testing on a web app, like there is no danger of electrocuting yourself or
Right.
burning yourself. So that's physical danger is something you gotta be ready for.
Hmm. Yeah, it tingles. It'll wake you up real quick.
So moving on, so your one and only certification is OSCP, and I just want to see and hear from you, like what, from your perspective, how has OSCP helped you in your career? Did it play a significant role to, because we got done talking about how you didn't need a degree, but how much did the OSCP help you? And
So the OSCP, it it helped me in a way that I didn't foresee. I mean, I'm glad that it taught me what I needed to know. It was very, very nice to like have everything laid out and explained in such a way that I could grasp. Time management is very, very important whenever it comes to doing any kind of pen testing. Even like the OSCP exam, when I took it way back in 2019, it was, I mean, a 24-hour exam. You can't just sit there and hammer away at it for 24 hours. I'm sure that some people can and have passed, but for me, I really needed to learn how to manage the time in order to get the rest that I needed. Because taking a break, walking away, getting your mind off of it, and then coming back to it, it's like a fresh mindset. And that can be applied to pretty much everything in cybersecurity, I think. There's been times where I would be on a phone call with a client for 3 or 4 hours, and you can't just sit there the whole time and try to come up with a fix to the problem because it's going to drain you. You got to step away. And the OSCP did teach me that. So that was and then I've applied that to pretty much every aspect of my life, and nothing but benefits come from it.
yeah, I was smiling when when you were talking about time management, how you said like during your OSCP, how you would take a step back
Mm-hmm.
and recharge your batteries and then come back. And I was smiling because it reminded me of my OSWA. So for those who don't know, that's the
Mm-hmm.
OffSec web assessor. It's the Web 200. It's like the cousin of the
Yeah.
OSCP. It's web app pen testing and not network pen testing. And for those who don't know, I failed that certification 3 times before I passed. I passed on my fourth try. And on my fourth try, this is the sequence. This is what happened. So it was literally Thanksgiving, right? Like I took this exam the day before Thanksgiving. Um, and the reason why I took it the day before Thanksgiving is because I figured that I was gonna be hanging out with my family on Thanksgiving, and my mom's like, "No, I got to work on Thanksgiving," and so we're gonna have Thanksgiving the day before. We're like, "Mom, I can't do it the day before. Like I have an exam that day." So we did it. We did Thanksgiving dinner with the family 2 days before. So I was with my family, and I stayed up to like 1 in the morning over just hanging out with my family. And I'm like, dude, I got an exam at 7 o'clock in the
Oh
morning.
no.
I'm not getting no sleep. So, anyways, I go to bed. I only get like 4 or 5 hours of sleep. Wake up, do the check in process. And I'm not even kidding. I think I spent 40 minutes just like doing my initial recon on the exam. And I'm like, dude, screw this. I'm going back to bed. So I went back to bed at about, like I said, it started like 7 in the morning. I crawled back into bed like 7:40, 7:45. I didn't wake up until like noon. I took a really, and it was like that was the best nap I've ever
I think
had
you
in my
probably felt
life.
great.
The best nap I've ever had in my life. I just woke up and I just went back to the exam, and everything was solved. Like I figured it all out.
The
Like I
stars
passed the
aligned.
exam a few hours after that. I'm like, dude, I was enlightened in that nap.
Mhm. Yeah, during my OSCP, is I failed it twice and passed it on the third try, but I did something different on the third one, and that was whenever I would actually say, "Okay, I need to take a break." Stand up. I'd go outside. I'd go for a walk, which I had done before, but in the first two attempts, I would just walk around and think about it, and that was not getting my mind off of it. So I would call my friends up and be like, "Hey, man, let's talk about anything other than what I'm doing," and actually just talking with them about their life and stuff, and coming back to it, clarity.
Yeah, that's good. That's good you mentioned that because yeah, when you clear your mind, you come back and you're able to um, solve the problem that's in front of you. That's taking breaks like during the day.
Mm-hmm.
I people have been consuming my content, especially people who read my newsletter and people who read my newsletter. Shout out to you guys. You guys are the real MVPs. I'm a big fan of working a lot. Putting in extra hours, putting in the time, but at the same time, it's like if your brain ain't working, you gotta give yourself a break. I'm not a machine. Like I do like to work a lot of hours, and I did for my OSCP exam. I did put 17 hours in, and I only took a break for like 2 of those hours.
Mm-hmm.
So I was like spent 15 hours on the computer, um, because that's what it took for me to get that passed. But day to day, like if I'm not feeling it, dude, I'll go take a nap. I'm like, that's if I like sometimes I'll just catch myself. I'll fall asleep watching the video.
Mm-hmm.
Before we started this recording, we were talking about the OSCP, how it puts me to sleep. Like it will put me to sleep, and I'm like, all right, got time to get a step away from the computer. Go take a quick nap, and then we'll tackle it again later. And then sometimes I'm like, oh, we'll hit it harder tomorrow.
Mm-hmm. For sure. Yeah, we're only human.
All right, well, this has been a great discussion so far, Zach. But we need to wrap it up. So let's go
Yeah.
ahead and do the final question, which is: do you have any additional cybersecurity hot takes or hidden wisdom you would like to share with the audience?
There's always a way, whether it's to get into cybersecurity or if you're already in cybersecurity or you're doing pen testing and you're trying to, compromise an organization, whether it be assumed breach or external, there's always a way. There is always a way. No, that's just it. Some people think that they're super secure and nobody can ever get in. Sorry, there's a way. It's not that there isn't a way. It's just maybe nobody's found that way yet.
Yeah, and or they haven't spent enough time on it.
Mm-hmm.
That's another thing too. That's great advice and words to live by for sure. Because, like you said, there's always a way, and even if you are secure today, doesn't mean you're going to be secure tomorrow because there's new exploits and methods and attack vectors coming out every single day.
Every day.
That's why it's important to stay vigilant if you are in this world of cybersecurity, especially if you're a defender securing your assets in your network or even in your personal life, like your personal assets, your home security and stuff.
Mm-hmm. I agree.
All right, Zach. Well, thank you so much for taking your time and being here with me today. Where can the audience get a hold of you if they want to connect with you?
Let's go with LinkedIn. Probably, yeah. LinkedIn.com/in/Zachary-Winchester.
Okay, audience. LinkedIn is also a great place to get in touch with me. Also, check out my website, kyserclark.com. Audience, thank you so much for watching and listening. Thanks for hanging out. If you got value out of this episode, do me a favor and share the show with your friends. Leave us a 5-star rating if you're on audio, and like the video and subscribe if you're on YouTube. And hopefully I see you in the next episode. Until then, this is Kyser signing off.